Junior wanted that silver cup. It wasn't about the trophy. It was the challenge. It was the ordeal. It was a problem that he could solve. He was a superintendent at the North Star mine, located in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountain range. As a gold miner, he worked with the land every day. He solved problems for a living, bending and shaping the earth with industrial equipment and human creativity. Perhaps that's why taking an automobile over Donner Summit felt like the kind of problem he was meant to solve. Heck, to a man like him, it looked like a lot of fun. Junior brought 3 friends with him. Charles Scarfe was a young Scottish immigrant who worked for Junior as a mechanic at the North Star mine. George Starr was an engineer from Texas who worked as a superintendent at the Empire Mine. Doc LaRue was a French-Canadian attorney who had a camera full of film and a flask full of brandy. Their mission was to get Junior's automobile up and over Donner Summit. It had been a big winter. 40 feet of snow had dumped on Donner that year. The wagon trail had been closed all winter, and nobody knew how much snow was still up high. The trail was good road for now, but how long would that last? They drove higher and higher into the mountains following the old wagon trail. They could see the snow line on the horizon, and they knew that's where the real adventure would begin. Their first test came at the Bear River. The bridge was washed out. This was the reason no other team had started the race. The Grass Valley 4 didn't need a bridge. They rigged a zip line and sent the car over the river. After they crossed, they used dynamite to destroy the anchor points so nobody else could use them. But they weren't done yet. Junior climbed a telephone pole, plugged in a portable phone that he had brought from the mine, and called the Union newspaper in Grass Valley.
Excuse me? That's impossible.
That night, they camped and made a good fire. In the morning, they drank hot coffee and filled the radiator of the Model T with fresh water. The 4 men drove higher, traveling up the muddy carriage road. It was early, and the mud was still hard. It wasn't long before they came to the snow line. The wagon trail was too rough, and the conditions were too sloppy. If they wanted to go any higher, they would have to do something different. The men wrapped ropes around the tires for added traction. They all knew the trick from their work in the gold mines, except for Doc. He had never seen it done before, having always traveled by train. The men carried on, working the car up the mountain. The road was buried by 8 feet of frozen slush. They came to steep spots where they had to get out, tie a rope to the car, and pull it up. After 5 hours of working the car up the mountain, the sun was higher, and the frozen slush had turned to mashed potatoes. Water filled their boots, and the Model T was mired up to its axles. Charles Scarfe, the young mechanic, stayed with the Model T while the other men hiked out, settled on. They trekked a half-mile to the railroad track and caught the train back down the mountain to Grass Valley. Back in Grass Valley, the men split up. Doc went to his darkroom to develop the photographs he had taken thus far. Junior and George went to the machine shop at the North Star mine. Junior and George worked together fabricating a set of skis for the Model T. They worked from a drawing that Junior had done. They both did the cutting and bending, but when it came to welding, George was the best in town. Soon they were done. The two men stepped back, looked at the skis they had made, and wondered if they would work on the car. The skis did work on the car, but they still had to reach the summit, and there were miles to travel and elevation to gain.